King Asa had a lot of good years, but somehow in his old age, he made some bad decisions. We can talk about the foolishness of youth, but somehow reading through the history of kings, I find it interesting that we can also talk about the foolish endings of otherwise godly kings. It always feels more tragic to read the accounts of a good king who does not finish well than a king who was evil at the beginning of his reign and only grew progressively evil as the years went by. As we read these less than faithful endings to an otherwise good reign, we are reminded that life is long and faithfulness must be mustered up every day. Every day we must lift our eyes to the King of Kings and bow the knee to him. In fact, we must do so every moment or our lives will be vulnerable to demise. Now, as we turn the pages of our Bibles to 2 Chronicles 17 and find the words, Jehoshaphat, his son, succeeded him as king, our weary eyes perk up a bit as we read of the kind of faithfulness that we rarely read in the Bible. In the previous account, Hanani, the seer, proclaimed in 2 Chronicles 16:9, "For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him." Well, the eyes of the Lord certainly stopped and gazed upon this young king. Listen to this grocery list of godly accolades. In verse 3, he walked in the ways his father David had followed, and he did not consult with the Baals. In verse 4, he sought the God of his father, and he followed his commands rather than the practices of Israel. In verse 6, his heart was devoted to the ways of the Lord, and he removed the high places and the Asherah poles from Judah. And then follows something that we have never read. In verse 7, he sent his officials to teach in the towns of Judah. In verse 9, they taught throughout Judah, taking with them the book of the law of the Lord. And they went around to all the towns of Judah and taught the people. Wow, this kind of obedience is rarely seen in the accounts of the kings, even though it is what we should read about for every king. It is a breath of fresh air. The Mosaic covenant clearly taught that obedience would bring blessing. So it's no surprise that we find blessing being poured out on King Jehoshaphat and the nation of Judah. When a king recognized the Lord and bowed the knee to him, leading the people in humble submission and obedience to the teachings of the Mosaic covenant, then life was full of blessing for them. As Hanani stated previously in chapter 16, verse 9, the Lord strengthens those who are fully committed to him. Is there a lesson to learn here? Absolutely. Although we are not promised the same physical, tangible, and material blessings that the Lord promised to the nation of Israel, based on the Mosaic covenant, we are promised rest as we yield our lives to our sovereign King. We must keep our eyes on the Lord, keep our hands on the plow, and sober-mindedly walk in faithfulness each moment of every day. Can we commit to that? There is much blessing when we do.